Would you like to start? How do you see the future of Burma?
Thank you.
Only a little question.
Thank you, Jean. Thank you. I would like to thank the Sunday Times Oxford Literary Festival and the Orwell Prize for inviting me to speak today. Before I answer Jean's question and before I begin, I would like to make a request to the chair and to the participants. I've got a slight cold, and if you cannot hear me or if you cannot understand my accent, just please shout. So I was given this question: do the promised 2010 elections offer hope for change? Or is the continued focus on Aung San Suu Kyi's detention a distraction from the real issues? Do the promised 2010 elections offer hope for change? Before I go into this, I would first like to discuss what this election entails. The planned election. Hopefully it's likely to happen this year. For the past 2 decades, Burma's de facto military regime has been trying to gain legitimacy. The new constitution adopted and rectified by the regime in 2008 clearly seeks to justify a military role in politics. 2008 constitution ensures that the military will continue to dominate the next government. I will not go into detail about the constitution, but to a large extent, the military government has already cemented its position ahead of the elections. So is the legitimacy, is that the only reason for the regime to hold the elections? One needs to understand that the Burmese military was born out of nationalist movement when Burma was fighting for independence from colonial rule. And the military always cherished the notion that it has dual function as defender and the ruler of the nation. I can give you a number of reasons for that. One of the reasons is when the army took power from the democratically elected government in 1962, then the coup leader, General Ne Win, repeatedly said that the action was required to counter the growing ethnic unrest, to keep the country from breaking up. And the same excuse was made in 1988 when another coup d'etat took place in Burma. So the elections and the new constitution is obviously vital to the military to stay in power legally. And then about Aung San Suu Kyi. Are we paying too much attention to her? Is she still relevant? If you look at the election laws published recently, it is clear that she is still very relevant to the regime. Again, I don't want to go into the details of this law, but on the 9th of March, the regime published 5 new laws relating to the elections. And the most controversial clause in the political party's registration law is prohibiting anyone with a conviction from belonging to a political party, which subsequently bans a person from contesting the election, which we expect to happen later in the year. But the law doesn't say that whether the criminal convictions and political infringements, which Aung San Suu Kyi has been accused of, whether there is distinction or not, the law doesn't state very clearly. But effectively what it means is she will be barred from participating in the elections because she is currently under detention. So these laws that have been published is clearly designed to prevent all the key opposition parties or opposition leaders, including Aung San Suu Kyi, from participating in the elections. So there is another question. Does it mean that the military regime would not want NLD to participate in the elections? There are 2 schools of thought of this. One is, unless NLD participates in the election, the process will not be regarded as credible. So therefore, the regime would like NLD to participate. Another notion is that if NLD participated in the elections, it could win the majority of votes. And again, this will not be in favor of the regime. So there another question one need to explore is, so does NLD enjoy an overwhelming support inside the country? National League for Democracy Party, which is Aung San Suu Kyi's party, which is the main opposition party. The party is Aung San Suu Kyi and Aung San Suu Kyi is the party. She is still a very, very popular figure in Burma, including the ethnic leaders. Not only the people in Burma, ethnic leaders also feel that she is the only person who can bring the army and the people together. She is the only hope for national reconciliation. But her party, NLD, National League for Democracy, has stopped functioning as a political party in her absence. And many, many people inside the country are disappointed with NLD. A lot of people said NLD has failed to capitalize the political space available, particularly in 2007, when the month-led protests took place in Burma. And then again in 2008, when Cyclone Nagin struck the southern part of Burma. NLD was totally silent, NLD party. So that's NLD's position. And then there is the international community. The Burmese military regime has cultivated its relationship with China and India. As Jean just now said, China has invested heavily in Burma. And Burma is strategically important for both countries. Just recently, a few days ago, 2 days ago, the Security Council is split on whether Burma's election should even be on its agenda. China, as Jean said, which has close ties with Burma, argues that it is an internal affair, while Britain has led the push for strong UN involvement. So what UN does, all UN does is calling for free and fair elections. But with a strong backing from China, the regime is going to push forward its plan to hold the elections on its own terms. So all Burmese political groups, both inside the country and exiled groups, they all oppose the 2008 constitution, the way it was adopted and ratified. So only few expect the new constitution or the coming election will improve their lives. However, incidentally, on the way to Oxford, I just met one ex-former 88 student leaders in Oxford. I just bumped into him, and he just said that he's going to take part in these elections, and he gave all his reasons, which I hope I'll be able to share with you when we have the discussion later. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to conclude my presentation with a poem, which is written by a very famous 18th century poet, Burmese poet, Lawetundra. This is, I have to admit, I take it out from Aung San Suu Kyi's book, Freedom from Fear, and I think the translation is done by Aung San Suu Kyi herself. And this is, I think, what she stands for, and this explains where the Burma future lies to me. I will read the poem, just one verse. How superior the tactics of war, how potent the weapons, without gathering in the hearts of the people, without relying on the strength of the people, the sword edge will shatter, the spear will bend. Unless the military gathered in the hearts of his countrymen and relied on their strength, the people would not stand firm and resolute behind the military. On this note, I'd like to end my presentation.
Thank you very much.